Bowser, King of the Koopas, is an icon. He's a good leader, a good father, and a household name for gamers everywhere. Even non-gamers have almost certainly heard of Bowser, and know of him as the villain of the Mario series. And this makes sense given just how many games Bowser is in. He's been the main antagonist of every single console Mario platforming game since Super Mario Bros. On the NES. Well, all but one. Super Mario Bros. 2, also known as Super Mario Bros. USA in Japan, is the unarguable black sheep of the Mario series. It's the only game where Mario can't defeat his enemies by jumping on them, instead having to pick them up or throw objects at them. It's the only game to not have power-ups, and, until 3D World, was the only game to feature multiple playable characters who all played distinct from one another. And relevant to the intro of this video, it's the only game without Bowser and his Koopa army in it. There are no Goombas, no Koopa Troopers, no Bullet Bills, not even Piranha Plants, and they are so common they even show up in non-Mario games. Instead, Super Mario Bros. 2 gave us enemies like Ostro and Flurry and Pidgeot. Pidgeot's the best, I love this little guy. And leading this pack of goons was a new enemy. Another king, but this time one of amphibious origins. Wart, leader of the 8-bits and conqueror of the Dream Machine. After King Koopa's defeat in 1985, players were put up against a new antagonist, one who required a bit more effort and thought than old Bowser, and it left a strong impact on players. But by the end of the 80s, the Frog King was out and King Koopa was back, holding a position as main antagonist of the Mario series until probably the heat death of the universe itself. At least in the West, anyway. Japanese players wouldn't get to see Mario and Wart clash until 1992, and by that point Bowser had long established his position as head honcho of the Nintendo Villain Club. It's unsurprising then that Wart faded from the front lines and has never returned to the Mario series unless it's out of obligation when Super Mario Bros. 2 gets a remake or port. For Western fans of the Mario series, however, this is greatly unfortunate. Many of those who grew up with Mario and friends in the 80s view Wart almost as if he is as iconic as Bowser himself. If Bowser is the main villain, then Wart is only slightly behind him. And because of this, it's not uncommon to see Wart amongst some of the most requested characters for Nintendo to bring back in the modern era, like they did with Pauline. Whether this be through a spin-off like Mario Kart or in the mainline series itself. But will Nintendo do this? And if they did, how will they? Well, I have my own idea on how, and in this video I want to go over why Wart should be brought back, how Nintendo currently treats and views Wart, and then give my suggestion on how Nintendo can bring Wart back. And not just for a one-off cameo, but bring him back in a way that will keep him around, while not stepping on Bowser's big scaly toes. Let's roll that intro. So let's start with the why. Why should Wart be brought back in the modern era? This character who hasn't been relevant to the Super Mario series since the launch of Super Mario Advance in the year 2000. Well, why not? People like to see old and obscure characters come back and be relevant again. Just look at how excited fans were for Toko Toko, Batadon and Super Koopa in Mario Kart World. But actually, there is a bit more to it than just that, and it comes largely from the Western side of the fandom. As I stated in the cold opening, for many players growing up in the 80s, Wart was villain number 2. He was the follow-on from Bowser, and so got held on a similar pedestal back in the day, a big baddie for Mario to face. But there's another factor to this, and that's the timing of Wart's debut itself. After the breakout success of the first Super Mario Bros. Game, it was inevitable that the IP would get external media like comics and TV shows, and by the time these would enter production, Super Mario Bros. 2 was already out, and in some cases was the face of the series at the time. The Super Mario Bros. Adventure books and Valiant comics would feature both Bowser and Wart together as the two antagonists taking turns, or working together to try and defeat Mario and Luigi. The timing for Wart in the West was so significant that he even appeared on the first cover of Nintendo Power, which had an entire section on it dedicated to Super Mario Bros. 2. And more importantly, there was the Super Mario Bros. Super Show. Wart never actually appeared in this, King Koopa was the main antagonist, but this iconic version of Bowser was very much a fusion of both Bowser from the original games and Wart. He had characteristics of both, and his army in the show was primarily made up of enemies from Wart's crew. Mouser and Triclide were major antagonists, and Shy Guys, Fry Guys, Birdo, and my beloved Pidgeot made recurring appearances throughout. The majority of the music used in the show also came from Super Mario Bros. 2, including its main theme, character selection theme, and cave theme. While Bowser was the antagonist instead of Wart, all of this Super Mario Bros. 2 love would have had an effect on Western kids in the 80s and 90s, elevating that game and, by association, Wart's status in their minds. All of this is to say that for many Western Mario fans, primarily the oldest and longest committed fans, Wart is important and should make a return because of it. And it's not like Nintendo is opposed to using Wart. This is a topic that really deserves its own video, but it's very rare for Nintendo to hate a character or idea so much that it never gets used again. For Nintendo, certain characters fit certain roles, and if that role is ever needed again, then the character will come back. Pauline returned in Mario Odyssey because Nintendo needed a character who could be the mayor of a New York City inspired location, and given the original Donkey Kong was based in a city, with Mario lore implying it to be at least based around Brooklyn, Pauline just fit that role perfectly. In Nintendo's eyes, Wart fits two specific scenarios, and in these, he is a go-to choice over a character like Bowser. First of all, Wart is an enemy from dreams. Wart's end goal in Super Mario Bros. 2 was to take the Dream Machine and invade the dream world of Subcon, the subconscious realm. Mario and co enter the dream world and defeat this Nightmare King, and they've never really done something like that since. Mario and Luigi Dream Team is the closest they came, but that's a spin-off RPG that has a tendency to just make its own antagonists up, which is what they did for that game. The one other time Wart appeared in a game, it was The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening, where he went by his Japanese name Mamu. And why did Wart appear here? Because the world of Link's Awakening is set inside of a dream, so Wart was a natural fit. The second scenario that Wart fits is as a Western-specific character for Mario. This scenario has only appeared once really, and that was in the year 2020, in a Nintendo recruitment book. This book was designed to illustrate all the different job roles you could have at Nintendo, from R&D to making music, and it used the Mario cast to illustrate these in adorable new drawings. And on one page, Wart makes an appearance, having a chat with Princess Daisy over the phone. I think all Wart fans know this image is the only time we've seen him drawn in the new Mario art style, and it generated buzz online when it dropped. But how many actually know what the page is showing and what the text says? Well, allow me to do my best to translate. Princess Daisy is on the phone with someone from a foreign country. What language are they speaking? This is a page for recruiting employees for Nintendo's call center, and it highlights that you'll need to speak a foreign language as they accept calls from around the world. And in this scenario, Wart is being used as the foreigner. He's not a native like the main cast is. He's a foreign Mario character, and it's absolutely because in Japan, his game is Super Mario Bros. USA. Wart is seen as a Western Mario character, which is a weird thing to say, as all of his appearances have come from Japanese developed games. But his lack of recent appearances and the big Western focus means that he's not as popular over in the home of Mario as he is abroad, and as a result may not be on the minds of modern Japanese game developers for the Mario series. But Nintendo is not a Japan-centric company anymore. Sure, they have bias for the region, but we have entered an era where the world is more connected, and the younger folks who grew up with Nintendo, and more importantly grew up with internet access and more access to foreign ideas, are now making the games at Nintendo. And this generation, ironically, is more likely to favour Wart thanks to this Western influence and the generation of kids who grew up in the 80s and 90s in Japan, where Wart was simply a one-off like Tatanga, the main antagonist of Super Mario Land. We've actually seen this phenomena very recently with Donkey Kong Bonanza, which, unlike Nintendo Tokyo's previous attempts at a Donkey Kong game, is actually embracing the Western developed Rare side of the series rather than trying to avoid it. So, I think it's a good time to be optimistic about Wart's return, and now I want to tell you all how Nintendo could bring back Wart. And to do that, we should look at how Nintendo has kept the other elements of Super Mario Bros. 2 alive, because while Wart may have taken a backseat, many other aspects of that game have stuck around and become mainstays of the series. Take Bob-omb and Pokey as examples. Both made their debut in Super Mario Bros. 2 and then joined Bowser's army almost immediately. Bob-omb's appeared in Super Mario Bros. 3 and Pokey in Super Mario World. Both have concepts that are really obvious, Living Bomb and Living Cactus, that they make for easy returning mob enemies that fit right into the Super Mario Bros. Formula. The ability to fit into the existing Mario world is probably why some enemies stuck around and others were rejected. I've managed to go the whole video so far without saying what I'm about to say, but it was inevitable. Did you know that Super Mario Bros. 2 was originally a game called Doki Doki Panic in Japan? It might be the most well-known piece of gaming trivia out there, but it is relevant for this discussion as it explains why this game has no previous Mario elements in it. It wasn't a Mario game. Our heroes got pasted over the previous stars, and that was it. But that means a lot of its cast, like tweeters and hoopsters, didn't fit in the main Mario style or were irrelevant when other options existed. Why bring Trouter back when Cheep Cheep exists? But despite this, in the 90s, Nintendo did make this conscious effort to look back at the enemies of Super Mario Bros. 2 and actually bring some of them back in a little known game called Super Mario World 2 Yoshi's Island. For whatever reason, Nintendo decided that the best SNES game, Yoshi's Island, would be a perfect place to start referencing Super Mario Bros. 2 again, with the most notable of all these being Shy Guy. Shy Guy is unquestionably the most iconic of the enemies from Super Mario Bros. 2, being a series mainstay for decades at this point across every possible spin-off. They are just so malleable, able to fit any scenario needed. Yet despite this, they've never appeared in the main Mario platformers, and instead get all of their love from the Yoshi series. They are the Yoshi equivalent of the Goomba, being the common enemy in every Yoshi platforming game, and with them came their variant Sniffit, and several new Shy Guy types like Fly Guy and Bandit. Shy Guy is the most obvious Super Mario Bros. 2 element in the Yoshi series, but he's not the only one. Sparks also returned under a new name, Pyro Dangles. The Flurry enemy didn't return, but its mannerisms and role in the game were replaced with the cuter Bumpty Penguin enemies, and 2 new enemies in Yoshi's Island are direct connections to enemies in Super Mario Bros. 2. The Little Mouser enemy takes its western name from Mouser, who can be seen as the boss of the mice, and going the opposite direction, the Harry Hedgehog enemy from Yoshi's Island can be seen as the boss of the Porcupo enemy from Super Mario Bros. 2, given its Japanese name is literally Super Porcupo. And this only covers the connections in Yoshi's Island itself. I already mentioned that Pokies came back in Super Mario World, the game Yoshi debuted in, and it was almost certainly because their segmented body worked perfectly as an enemy for Yoshi to eat. Ninji also returned in Super Mario World, although unrelated to Yoshi. And who can forget the all-star character Birdo, the only boss from Super Mario Bros. 2 to survive into the future, and one who was brought back specifically to be a tennis partner to Yoshi. Since then, Birdo and Yoshi have frequently been paired up, with it even being insinuated in some cases that Birdo is Yoshi's girlfriend. Whether intentionally or not, it fell on Yoshi to adopt the remnants of Super Mario Bros. 2, and it is here where I think that Wart could find a new home. Right now, the main antagonist of the Yoshi series is Baby Bowser, alongside his attendant Kamek. This made a lot of sense back in the day when Yoshi's Island was all about Yoshi and Baby Mario. Having Baby Mario and his attendant face off against a Baby Bowser and his attendant just worked out. But since then, Baby Mario has moved on, but Baby Bowser has not. Baby Bowser has been kept around, and sometimes even regular old Bowser himself has invaded the Yoshi series. It's a bit dated nowadays, and with both Wario and Donkey Kong getting to have their own antagonists unrelated to the main Mario series, I think Yoshi should get the same treatment. And Wart just fits this role perfectly. Reptile versus Amphibian, enemy of the Shy Guy versus leader of the Shy Guys, green versus green. All we need is a Yoshi game about dreams, like maybe Wart steals the dream fruit or something and Yoshi has to get it back. It just works well from a concept, and after it's been introduced, Wart can just stick around as Yoshi's main enemy. He can be relevant without adult Bowser having to lose his job as main series antagonist. We don't need Baby Bowser when we have Bowser Jr. anyway, and Kamek has long since upgraded to being a main Mario series regular, appearing plenty of times in the mainline games since the Wii. There's also a mechanical reason I think this can work, and it might be the connecting thread that led to Yoshi adopting so many Super Mario Bros. 2 elements in the first place. The main gameplay in that game involved the player picking up and throwing objects at enemies to defeat them. To defeat Wart, you had to grab turnips and throw them into Wart's mouth. It was a vital gameplay mechanic, and one that the Mario series has not returned to, also possibly explaining Wart's absence. But the Yoshi series is literally all about throwing objects, eggs instead of turnips. Yoshi's entire gameplay loop involves him eating enemies, making them into eggs, and throwing them. It's how you beat every boss in the game. This is perfect for a boss battle against Wart. You make the target his mouth and you throw the egg straight into it. Just write it so that Wart hates eggs as much as he hates vegetables, and voila, you have a perfect antagonist for Yoshi's gameplay mechanics. Wart was practically made to fit the Yoshi's Island series, and I almost think the only reason it hasn't happened yet is simply because in Japan, where all the Yoshi games have been made, Wart isn't that big a name, and so it's easier to just stick with Baby Bowser. But hopefully, whichever developer makes the next Yoshi game has more knowledge on the wider Mario universe, and is more daring than previous devs to try something new, as I believe that this is the best way that Nintendo can bring Wart back.